Nah, nggih.
Hello everyone. A very good evening and welcome to the third session of the From Zero to Hero in Python. This is a collaborative project between Edvicon International and Benzyme Ventures. Before we start today's session, I would like to make some announcements to all the participants. We will share a link of the resources to the Zoom chat box, which contains the past sessions and tutorials for you to follow up if anyone has missed it. And we will collect your attendance during the session nearly at the end of the session and make sure to fill the necessary details, and we are going to close the link once the session is over, and there will be a separate link to submit your questions, and we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the session, so we will be answering your questions. And for the ones who participate through the FB Live, we will be sharing these links within the comment section. You can follow up with this. So please follow up for the details during the session. So on behalf of all the Benzyme Ventures and Edvicon International, I would like to invite Mr. Pixie Smile to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Hello, hi, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hi guys, yeah, good evening. So my name is Fikri Ismail and I'm a Microsoft MVP for developer technologies. I totally work on development technologies like C#, Node.js, JavaScript, and Python and other developer languages. That's my main area. And I am in this industry for like more than 15 years. And I started with as a developer. Now I own a company called PHIT. I'm just founder of that company. We are working on these things, development on .NET base and different development technologies. So to start with, I'll just share my screen and turn off my video. So let me share the screen first. Share screen. I think I can't share my screen. Host disabled.
Let me make you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, no, it's okay. So let me share screen 3. Yes. I hope everybody can see the screen.
We can see, sir.
Yeah, nice. So today I'm going to start. I'll just do a small recap on what we had done last week or the day 2. So we have built some small Python files and we try to learn different areas of Python. Last week we learned about a programming structure. We started with converting numbers into strings, and we just learn how to do that, and then we move on to like importing an existing library or maybe importing existing package on Python, and then slowly we move into getting back third-party libraries as well. Like we install using pip, we install it, and then we make use of it, and then we'll create some small application, a small program here, right? So next step, what we have done is, then we slowly moved into this application, this small application. Like first time we talked about controlling a program flow, right? If you remember, last week, today also I'm going to talk about some sort of like that. If you just think about this flow, like we just say maybe import libraries, right? We can just start from here, and then the program next, we can just say do something, and then do more stuff using Python, and then finally end. Right, this is the normal program flow we started. Then we decided, okay, now this is called a program flow, start to end, top to bottom. It doesn't matter it's the left to right, or because we thought about, okay, this will be your program flow. Normally this is how a program works without any issues. If it starts from the top and then it goes to the bottom, but sometimes we need to make decisions in between these things, like we change the flow of the program. Like at the moment, the flow is like from, if we take, it's kind of a, it's kind of a like top to bottom, a straight line. It goes. This is called a program flow, and it's from top to bottom. See, it just comes down. And sometimes this is not actually in the real world. When we use when we create programs, it doesn't work like this. In real world, it should be like we might have to take decisions. For example, we have to change this flow like this. Maybe in the middle we think about to add a decision, like let's say we're going to make something like this. Just go down and down. Yeah. Now we're going to think about check something. Right? This check, if this check pass, so you're going to say check something. We'll say we're going to check. Now, if we check something, if it is true, the program flow should move into this line. So for example, I'm going to say do some other stuff and go back and do some more stuff. Or other stuff. And then finally, end the program. Right? Like this. So we have changed the flow of the program. So maybe say check something, whether if the check is, let's say let's just select the check is true, right? And the check is false. Let me get back here. No space. False. Do something else. See, it comes here. If it is true, and go this way, and if it is false, go this way. So these kind of things we knew, right? We worked on, we tested, and then we wrote a small program here, and then we mentioned it here. See, now this is the flow. If the value is 7, do something here. If the value is 8, do something. If the value is 9, do something. So one of these will be executed. One of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 items. One of these will be executed, and then the program will be finished, right? It's same as this. If you look at this one, it's same as this. Check something, go this way or go this way, right? And we try to nest these things. Next one, we just say, okay, nested ifs, and then we went to check some marks like this. For example, if the mark is 50, or then we learn about all these these checks, and we learn about those things, and we learn about these operators, we learn about this and or stuff, and we learn about not or, and then we learn about lots of things in this application, right? So this is what we learned last week. Today we're going to move on to something else. I'm going to close this, and I have another Visual Studio open. I'm going to start with a new file. Today, day 3. I'm going to say example1. Example1.py, right? Py. The extension will be same, the file name. As you remember, if you're new guys here, just a file name and the extension. So today, what we're going to do today, we will be looking at another program flow changer. Right? These are called loops. How does it work? Let me check. So whether we'll just go inside this application. Now we have this. We just delete these things. We delete, and we delete everything. Right? And then we're going to delete this, and then we're going to get this one here to here. So now again, we have a normal program flow, right? So we'll just delete everything. We'll start, we'll do something, start of the program, and then we do something again, do something, and again we'll do some another thing, more stuff, right? And finish. This is the normal program. Imagine, let me give an example. Finish. Right? Now this one. Sometimes we might use to change this structure, we might have to repeat few things. Right? For example, we can just say, okay, repeat 10 times these two. this one and this one. Repeat. How do you do that? So for example, that means don't, there might be more stuff here. And then I'm going to say, yeah, there will be more stuff here as well. So let me click. Oops, sorry. And then there'll be some more stuff here. Something else, some other stuff. Right? There'll be some other stuff with a different color. But we have to first go through this, repeat these items again 10 times. Why you need this? I will show you why you need this. And then, for example, let's say, for sake of example, we just say, okay, we will repeat this. So normally what we do is like, we just do like this. We start. And then I'm going to say, we'll start from here and come back here. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one. Right? And then let's go back here. Right. I'm going to say like this. Just align that. Yeah. Now, I'm going to say repeat 10 times. I'm going to say repeat 10 times. Right? So now start, do something, it comes here, do something, and then more stuff, it goes here, and then repeats 10 times, and then finish. This is another way of changing the program structure or program flow. This is called a loop, right? So there are different loops. For our, now we're going to work on the first one called while, right? So it's like this. This is the syntax of while. We'll go back to my code. Let's say I'm going to give the help and then say while, right? Why is that? Yeah, let's say while loop. So if you move the mouse over, it says expected this. Yeah, right. Now what will happen is do something here. Now let's say print in here, right? Say true. Right? This is a basic while loop. So what will happen is, it's like you just say, you just move the mouse, or maybe you're going to say while true, print something here. This one, this is the syntax of while loop, right? If I just move here, this is the keyword of while loop. And then you have to check for an expression, a Boolean expression here, right? And then after that, everything else will be within these lines, what I have to do. So what I'm going to say is normally while loops like this, it will always go through this loop, like this. It will always go through this loop until this is true, right? So for example, this will be called a never ending loop. That means always it will be true. So that means something inside the loop, you have to change the value, right? If you look at this one, let me check. If you look at this part, you will say, okay, repeat 10 times means, then that means you have given a condition here. See, you have given a condition here, repeat 10 times. That means only will be repeating 10 times. How do you want to calculate? It's a different story, right? So here it will say you have to tell. Otherwise, the loop will never. Imagine if there's a loop like this without anything. I'm going to say nothing here. So what will happen? It comes start and do something, more stuff, it goes back and again do something, and then more stuff again do. It will be a never ending loop. So make sure you break the loop inside. How do you break it? You're going to say like this. You're going to give a condition saying repeat. This is just pseudocode, repeat 10 times. So now we have given a condition. Now there should be a way of counting the number of times. So I'm going to just go down here, and then let's go down here. Right? So maybe we can just say another small, oops. Another one, say count. Right? You're going to do some counting. You're going to say, okay, do something, count 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then when it comes to 10, okay, it says repeat only 10 times, and then it will be exit in the loop and then do the things. So same here. So that's why we need a condition like this. Like if the if else thing, we need a condition like this, a Boolean expression to check whether this loop where to exit, and then we have to make sure inside the loop to make this false, then only it will exit. Let me write a small program, because remember the dice. And then if you remember the last time we imported a library called random. We'll say import random. Remember this one? And then we're going to import this one. Next time we're going to say, okay, we're going to create two different variables. Roll, I'm going to say 0, and then we're going to say count. See, there is a count, 0. At the moment, the roll and the counts are 0. Now let's say while, remember this true, right? I'll just keep as it is. Now I'm going to do something here. I'm going to say, okay, count, no count, just say, let's say roll equals random dot random int. Remember, I'm going to say 1 to 5, right? 1 to 5. Then I'm going to print, say roll. So let's delete this one as well. And then I'm going to say print. Remember the formatting? I'm going to say it took to roll let's say finished. Right now, this what will happen? This code. Let's execute this code and just say, I'm going to say roll is 0. Now you remember this one, random import. Now the roll is 0. Now let's say true, and then do something, get a random number, print it, and then go back. There's nothing, and then true, and then go back, and then true. So what will happen here? This won't exit. This loop won't get exited because we haven't checked in this. So then we have to think about how to exit this thing. I'm going to say, okay, there should be only 6 times depending on time. Now I'm going to create a new variable called count, say 0. Now I'm going to check the count here like this. How do you going to roll? See 5. Now what will happen? Let's forget the count. Now what will happen? We're going to store this variable until the not equal to 5. So it will be exited, right? So that means not equal to 5 means that is true. Until if the 5 return from this example, it will exit, right? So let's save this program and then let's open terminal and new terminal. And let me clear this. Oops, clear this. I'm going to say Python and example1.py. This is how we execute a program. Let's now see. This is 2 and 5, and then 5 return and it got exited, right? Finished. So let's create. Now let's count how many times it got rolled to get until reach 5, right? So I'm going to say a count variable. After rolling, I'm going to count this one. So now I'm going to count equals count plus 1. That will happen here is, that means current value is 0 and then put something here. So this unit, this says, okay, now the count value is 0, add 1 and then put it back here, right? Get values, put it back here. And then next round, it will be, okay, count 1 and 1 plus 1, 2, go round and round until the roll is not equal 5. When it reaches 5, exit, right? So this is how it works. Let's try back. And then we're going to change this one into it took count rolls to roll a 5, right? So let's save it, clear. Now let's try the program. See, now look at this, what happened. Now it says it took 12 rolls to roll a 5. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it says 12 times it went through to print something. See, it goes back and then run and then check and it returns, right? So this is how you're gonna work on this thing. This is how it works. Now what happened? So imagine, let's say, let's print we have the roll here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now this is how it works. This is a simple example of while. So why you need these things? Imagine you have a database. Maybe you have something stored in a table. Let's go back and then I'm going to say, let's say table. Imagine you have something in a table like this, right? You have a table. If you want to print all these things like value 1, value 4, value 7 like that, right? So if you want to print all these things, that means you have to go through one by one. So that means you just go back inside here and saying, okay, go to this row. Oops, sorry. Go to this row and then go to print and go to this row, print, go to this one, print, go to this one and print until end of this table. So that means you have to do something repeatedly until the end of table. It's like go to this row and come back and go to the second row, go to third row and go to fourth row. Like that. That's why you need these sort of things. Right? Let's create a small, right? So I'll just show this example here, what we have done here. Then it will be clear. Right? Let's say Python example 1. See, now it took 3. Again, let's try. Now it took 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's again try. Now it's just in the first roll it came. It's now random. See, everything is random. So now it's kind of a dice rolling thing. We can just build a small game using this one, right? So let's go back to my code. Now, let's say, let's make it something like this. Now we have learned this, right? This is a simple example of using while loop. Now next time, let's create 2 different things. Let's break inside the loop. Sometimes we might have to break the loop, not until the condition is true, but we might have to break the loop. This is how you're going to do it. So I'm going to create another file called example2. I'm going to say, let's learn about 2 more things. Learn about the optional statements. Optional, these are optional. You don't have to give, it's not a mandatory. So I'm going to say statements called break and else, right? So I'm going to go to the next line, say break and else, 2 different things, right? Let's save this file. Let's start. So now I'm going to create again, I'm going to same code. I'm going to explain line by line. I'm going to say import random, same thing, right? Again, we're going to get roll equals 0 and count equals 0. 2 different things, right? Now we have 2 different things. Now let's say, let's print something like saying first person to roll a 5 pins. So how do you going to do that? That means we're going to create a program to saying, okay, 2 times, right? So let's say 2 people, first whoever wins, that means whoever roll these dice and then get a 5 and the program should exit. Let's try the first one. I'm going to save it. Normally, this is a good practice. You save the code and then you try to execute to see whether everything is fine. See, right, that's fine. Now next step. Next step on create, again same loop. Let's say while it should be same condition, say not equal to 5, until not equal to 5, roll. So now we are inside the while loop, right? Now I'm going to say in name equals input, enter a name, or I'm going to say, look at this one, right? This is another one you have to learn. Q quit. Look what happened here. Can anybody understand this line? So what happened here? So imagine, remember, I told you when you just put an string, normally you start with a single quote like this and end with a single quote like this. Two different things, right? But if you want a single quote to be printed inside your string, this is how you do that. You escape that. This is an escape character. It's called a backslash and then backslash, single quote, and then like this. So I'll just do an example. I'm going to show it to you. Let me open another quick examples. I'm going to say quick.inb, right? A notebook. I'm going to say, let's say print something like this. Row, I'm going to say enter, same thing, enter your name or say Q to quick. This is one way of doing it, right? Let's shift enter. Now this will execute it and printed here. See, now you have a double quotes, remember. So, but if you want a single quote like this, look what will happen. I'm going to save it and I'm going to shift enter again. Now you will get an error saying, it says, okay, invalid syntax. This is syntax error. This is not how you write code. It's a syntax, but you have to still print these two. How do you do that? You're going to escape. You're going to create an escape sequence, escape character, and then escape character. See, now let's try it. Control and shift enter. Now see, now hello. So anybody can see my, I'm not sure the screen is. So you can see my screen again, right? I think I got disconnected for a second. Is it okay, everybody?
Yes, sir, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Right, now let's go back to the next code. Now it says, okay, now I'm going to check whether this input, right? Whether if this input is Q, and then we need to exit this loop, not just rolling the dice. Normally the loop will be exited if we roll 5. Else, sometimes if you want to quit, you can just press Q and then you can just exit. Now I'm going to say, let's say, if name equals just simple Q, see, and colon. Why we are going to put a colon? I'm going to say break. See, this is how you're going to exit. Remember this one. See, now we have learned, last time we learned about these colons. That means this colon will be create a scope or maybe a block. It will start from here. See, this will be treated this line, this part of the code. And then this one will be this part of the code. Scope, another scope here, 2 different scopes. See, so indenting on Python is very important. Make sure you just create an indentation or make sure you use a nice, very good IDE, because IDE will be helping you for this indentation. So it will mark you like this gray lines on Visual Studio Code. It marks like this. So that means if you put a Q here, that means always it will exit. Right? Let's try this code here. Let's save it. Save the code and clear. Or maybe I'm going to close this one. I'm going to take my command prompt here. It will make much more sense. Clear. Now let's write Python, and I'm going to say example2. See, now it says enter your name. I'm going to say Fikri. Again, it will ask enter your name. See, Fikri. Still it will ask. If you just press Q, until it, when you press Q, you do something here, it works. When you press Q and press enter, that means your code will be get exit, right? So this is how the break works. That means this idea, this part. This is how the break works. Now next, go back to my other code. Now we have two different codes. So let's separate these things. It will be nicer to separate. Enter. Now I'm in the if. If you type something, still you are in the line of while now, right? You escape the if. Now next time, I'm going to say count equals +1. Now I'm going to randomly roll the dice. Roll random dot random int, same thing, random int 1 to 5, right? Next slide. That's done. Now I'm going to say print f means the formatter. I'm say name, whoever the name roll, right? See what happened here, this code. Now we're going to count. This is for our variable, and this we just store this roll and then print, and then this one, right? Now we have this until we are, let's try back this code and save it. Now it all works, right? Nothing errors. Now what will happen if Q is, if you type Q, that means break. And then now we're going to go back to the code. Now let's try else. What will happen? Let's say what will happen. Else is not for the if, right? It will be under this. Remember that one, right? Now we're going to read. Now let's say else means you have done. Now while, let's put else. See, now do something here. Let's see, print f name. I'm going to explain this code one by one again. Just say wins. How this code works. Wins, right? Now let's print again. Exit the code, print f you roll the dice. So this is just for your code. Count times. See, that's for your what happened here. Let's run the code and then we'll check, right? Now we have a nice looking code. This is now we are slowly getting complex code to using Python, right? Not just simple code. This is simply a nice looking code. And then I'll explain what is while else. Don't just let's save it. Let's go back to my code. Let's clear this out. Clear. Now I'm going to say Python example2. Now I'm going to say first person to roll a 5 wins. Now I'm going to type my name. Let's say Fikri. Enter. Now Fikri roll 2. Type another name. Maybe John. Now John roll 4. Still we are working on. I'm going to say Fikri, me. Now see what happened. I'll just roll 5 and then Fikri roll and then Fikri wins and roll. What happened in this code? Let's check back. Let's go back to the code. We'll go one by one, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So let's look at the code. See, I'm gonna, this is the entire code. Now if you look at the code, we'll start from here. Remember, we'll start this line. These lines we know, right? We have initialized and declared 2 different variables. One is roll and other one is count. That's one. Now this line we know again, we imported a standard library from Python, which is random. This line we print something to tell the user saying first person to roll a 5 wins. That's my code, right? Now, first person to roll a 5 means you have to repeat the rolls all the time. You just say, okay, just dice, roll it, and then 4 comes in, and then 2, you roll it, and then again comes in, again you roll something. So it should be repeating. Then the decision of taking this while loop is good. And then when should it got exit? This is the giveaway. This one says whoever types roll 5 wins. That means this loop get exited, go away from the loop, right? So next time, now the condition matches. That's why we put a condition here to match this one. Oops, sorry. To match this line. See, 5. Whoever wins 5 comes here, right? This matches. Now I'm going to ask, please type a name or else Q to quit. Q to quit means if somebody types Q, then the name value gets Q, and then I'm going to check it. It straight away breaks the loop. That's why this break keyword. Nothing else, no 5, whatever the condition, it doesn't matter. If you want to break something within the loop, you just execute this code and then it will be Q and then exit the loop, right? That means a break. Next time, I'm going to say count, and then this is for counting. So that's for us. Next step will be, now we're going to roll. I'm going to say 1 to 5. If the number is like, imagine 4, and then I'm going to say my name, Fikri, roll, and 4. What will happen? It goes back and check. No, it's the roll is not equal. Yes, true, and go inside back until we do something. Like imagine now the 5 comes in. 5, that's okay. 5. Again, go back. It says okay, roll 5 is not equal to, no, that means not equal means the 5 is equal to 5. That means this is going to be false. When it falls, if there is no else, that means it goes off the loop. Else, now it will print these things, right? It's like if else, but only difference is it will go into a loop, right? This is nice, right? So now, don't mistake about this part. This code block is for if. See, the dark line here is code block, because if you put an else here, that means it's the else of if. Now, if you look at this code block, that is while and else. See, straight gray line. So make sure, because the indentation is very important in Python. To, if you just put an else here, that means it will be here. But now you have 2 different code blocks. That means called scope. This is called scoping. This scope, if scope, and the while scope. While as an else, right? Now then what will happen was, now we have this slice, right? This simple as that. Right? Now we got a nice idea of the while loop. Let's, now if you understood it, let's update this one to, give me a second. Let's update this code. If something, imagine if somebody enter a name, maybe we're going to say, okay, right? If user enters nothing here, what will happen? Let's say what will happen when you just save it, and then let's run this program again. And I'm going to clear this one saying, okay, execute the Python code. I'm going to enter nothing. See, nothing. See, now you don't have any names. So what should happen was, if somebody enters nothing, that means no name, it should continue back. That means continue back means it should not go back here and do something. It should go back to the up and ask for the name again. That's why we're going to do the check, right? Here, what will happen in this code? What happens is like it goes down. This is like a validating. This is called some sort of validating the user input. I'm going to say again, if you put like normally, if you say Q, you type something Q, that's okay. 0 times you enter, wait, that works fine. And then you type, you just put a name here, and then another name, maybe John, and it works. And again, Fikri and John. See, it still works. Maybe Daisy. 1 again, see, now it goes off, right? If you want to quit, you can just say quit. You roll dice 6 times, right? But what will happen here when you just enter? Still it works. This is a bug of the code. It should not happen like this, right? It should, if it is rolled, it should enter a name. It should ask again, enter a name. Please do enter a name. This is what happens when you type something, right? Let's say, go back to the code. Now where you should enter, check this one. If the name is Q, break, and that's okay. But where should you check this? If I check this here, I'm going to say this, I'm going to introduce another function, a method on strings, name dot strip. See, strip. What will happen here? It says, we just look at the help, it says strip, get some character, return a copy of the string with leading and trailing white space removed, right? This is how it happens. This code is like this. What is a trailing and white space? If you type something like this, saying, I'm going to say space, and then another space. Entire string will be like this. See, 2 dots here. That means 2 spaces. Space 1, space 2, right? Right, space 1 and space 2. This one, the strip command, the strip function will remove those spaces and get only the text. Imagine this middle space, it doesn't matter, it will pick up because normally trailing, and it says trailing, only these 2 spaces. So if we just copy these 2, now if you look at this, there will be 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. It won't remove the middle one, it will be says the starting and the trailing. Only these 2 spaces will be removed from the strip command. So make sure you remember that. Now I'm going to say strip method, say check for null, nothing. And then I'm going to create a word called, I'm going to say continue. Right? What will happen here? Now it says, okay, while roll 1, if, let's try this code and you will understand it. Let's go back here, clear. Now I'm going to say, I'm not going to type any name, I'm going to just press enter. See, now it will ask for the, it doesn't go here because it will always continue and until I enter a name. See, roll 3 again, if I just say, it goes back. I'm going to say John again. See, if you want to quit, it works. What will happen? Just think about a second. What will happen if I just change the places? If I go here, what will happen? So will it work? To change the places? Yes, it will. Why? Because it's better. You always put, because after this line, because if it's not, even you don't have to worry about checking it, the queue, because if nothing entered means it should, you haven't entered anything. You don't have to even check this queue, right? So if you want to enter the queue, the check the queue means you have entered something. Then when it won't, okay, this is good for performance of a code where you write these if statements, right? So for example, in the previous place, it was like this. If I haven't entered nothing, this line, these 2 lines will be executed as well. Because why? Because I am checking for queue. Even though if I didn't enter anything, it will check the queue. But if you change the places like this, continue, yeah. I'm going to change these lines and say X. Now what will happen? Now what will happen? You just say name quit and it goes like this one. It will check for the null first, and then if there's no values there, again continue. If your queue means no problem, go down there, right? So it's good for your performance, the placing of your statements. Make sure you just think about that one as well, right? Now we are here. The code works fine. You just save it. Let's go back to the code And let's check it again. Clear. Execute. Enter, enter, enter. It works fine. Q1. I'm going to say my name is Fikri. Enter it will, and then I'm going to say summon, and then again Fikri, roll 1, and then Q quit. It's nicely working. Right now we have learned a program writing a program. Now we are programs like we are mixing things. We learn this. Now we are using printing statements. We are mixing things with our program. Let's go back to the next section. Right. Now let's create something. Right, remember, let's make this code like these are calling normally in coding. We just say, okay, we are calling this refactoring in programming, right? For example, this line we can just make more readable like this. We don't have to say count equals count plus 1. We can straight away say like this. We can use an operator plus equal. Right, this is one way of doing. Plus equal means it's the same. We can just check that, and then we go back to the code. It will just work like the same. So let's say Fikri again. See, summon. See, it works fine. So roll 2 times. It worked again. It says the same. So make sure. So this is the code looks nice here. So we learned that one. Right, let's go back to. Now let's create another simple program. What we have done right now, a game called, let's go back to the exercise 3. Exercise 3, Python. Now we're going to learn a code. Like I'm going to say, let's create a small code. Say guess using what we have learned. I'm going to say guess a number. I'm going to use the same thing. Until we guess it correctly, we're going to go into the loop, right? This is how we're going to say. Let's say guess a number between 1 to 5. I'm going to say I'm going to give the requirement. I'm going to say this should be the output. Guess. Let's create another line. Say guess a number between 1 and 5, right? If you just put say 3, the answer should be like this. Again, you should ask guess a number between 1 and 5. If you just say okay 4, the output should be, if the number is correct, it should be like this. You guessed it in 2 tries, right? This is the challenge. This is the code you have to write. So this is my requirement. Imagine you are in front of a customer saying, okay, I need a small game, a guessing game using Python. It should be like this. It should be guessing 2 numbers, between 2 numbers, 1 and 5. And if you correctly guess it, it should tell, okay, you guessed it within like 2 or 3 tries. This is how we're gonna do the code, right? Let's go back. Continue. Now let's write the code. How do we start? Guessing means random numbers. You have to just first, you have to create a random number, whatever a random number in between 1 to 5, and then that number will be guessed. So this is how we create. First, make sure this is the answer. I'm going to say, okay, create a random number to guess between 1 and 5. The first one. This is the requirement, and this is the explanation of the code. Now I'm going to say, okay, to create a random number, we have to import a library, a standard library. I'm going to import this one. Say import random. Next time, I'm going to store the value at the first time, because I'm not going to create inside the value, inside the loop. like this. Because if you create inside the loop, it will just say, okay, all the time it will say it will change. Now it should not change. That's why I'm going to create the number outside the loop. I'm going to say random int 1 to 5, between 1 to 5. Now we have a number, right? Now I'm going to say count, because now I have to say 2 tries. 2 tries means I have to get a count as well. At the moment there is no count, that's 0. And then I have to check the guessed number. At the moment there is no guesses, because I'm going to match with this number with this one, and if it's correct, I'm going to exit the loop. Else, meanwhile, I will be counting how many tries. So that's the requirement. See, 2 tries, it should be like this. Now let's start the loop. How do you going to start the loop? It's the same thing. While guess, right? So now it should be, when should the loop should be exiting? The value will be, for let's say my value is, I have guessed, the generated value is 3, right? I have guessed 2. What should happen? Until this is equal to this one, the loop should continue. Now the checking part is like the value and the guess number. Like this is the area we're going to check. I'm going to say while guess is not equal to value, right? Not equal to value means till it get equal, please run inside the loop. I'm going to say okay. Now not equal means one time we have to do a count. Count plus equal 1. Now sorry, we have a count plus 1. Next step. Now we're going to guess. Guess the guessing number. Let's say input. I'm going to say guess a number between 1 and 5. Space. Now I'm going to guess it, right? Count this now. Next time I'm going to say if. What is this one? Look at this. We're going to learn another new function called guess whatever the number dot is numeric. This function is numeric will say, okay, return if true, return true if the string is a numeric string. That means numeric strings means if you just type like this, because remember I told you every time when you get something from input, it will be a string, but still it might be a number but treated as a string, right? Remember that. And I'm going to check whether it's numeric, whether it's a number, not something like this. Let's say whether it's numeric. Let's press an enter here. Now I'm going to say if it is numeric, please convert it to a numeric number. Yes, see, convert. Right. Next step will be yes. Because why we are doing that? Because we are getting a random int here, and then it should be, the guess should be not a string, it should be, because we are matching 2 different integers, that's why we are going to convert it here, right? Now that's okay. Else, that means you have correctly guessed it. Now I'm going to say else print f, you say you guessed it in count tries. Now simple, same code, different requirement, right? Let's try that. Let's try that. I will explain line by line again, right? Go back to my command shell. I'm going to say clear Python example. Let's see how many Python files are there. Example 3, clear. Let's say Python example 3, enter. Now I'm gonna guess a number, right? What will happen if I didn't guess anything? Just press enter. See, nothing's wrong. Still ask the number. So because it's checking for values, so I'm gonna say okay 2. Let's say 3. See, it says you guessed it within 12 tries, the correct. The number was 3, and then because these are all treated as numbers. You guessed it in 12 tries. How it worked? Let's see. Now import random. Let's scroll down. Yes, this is my code. Now we have imported the random library, and then we stored the value here at the top, not inside the loop. That means whatever the number is created will be here. Imagine it created 3, right? Now count is 0, guess is 0. Now guess is 0, that's no problem because guess is an integer. 0 is not equal to 3. Imagine I just say 3. This is guess is 0. That means it goes inside the loop. It counts as 1. And then I'm going to store a guess number here. So I'm going to say 2. I've entered 2, and then it will just, if guess is numeric, yes, it is numeric. It's a numeric value. And then convert into an integer number. And then go back here and check. Now the guess is 2. And again, it's not equal to 3. That's correct, right? It goes back and then it's count and again the guess. Now I'm going to type 3. Let's type 3. I'm going to type 3. It is numeric, yes. Guess, convert it and go back. It says guess is 3 now is not equal to, check the value, not equal to 3. See, true or false? Now it is false, right? Because it is equal to 3, not equal. It's 3, that means false. It doesn't go inside, it goes to else. And we have 1, 2. It says 2 tries. You have guessed it in 2 tries. This is how it works. This is how the code works, right? Now you understood how the while work, right? This is how we have learned 2 different things. How to change the program structure. The first one is changing the program structure using if then else conditions. Now we have used a loop. Now we're going to learn another loop called for, right? Before that, I'm going to introduce a new data structure called a list. This is called a Python list. In different languages, other languages, this is called an array, but we can't call it. It's a list. Why it's called a data structure? This is the reason, right? Imagine, let's go back to my this one. I'm gonna delete everything. Let's delete. So I'm gonna create a small like this, saying this is number 2. Let's increase the font. Maybe 30. Yes, nice. Now this is an integer, right? Let's make it a little bit small. This size. Okay, this is nice. Now I have an integer. Now I'm going to create another integer. Maybe 34. I'm going to create another integer. Right? I'm going to say 50. Let's create another one. Right? Now, let's say 10. Now, when you take these individually, these are called data types. That means integers, variables, or whatever. It is called an integer. This is an integer, and this is an integer, and this is an integer, right? Data structure means you have a structural thing. Like, for example, a list of integers. Like this. A list of integers. The entire thing will be treated as a data structure. So a data structure is, in Python, we have a data structure called a list. This is a data structure. Now I have a list of integers. Right? This is how you call this. Is I'm going to say I have a list of integers. Let's see how it works. How will we create a list? Right? Now you have understood. Again, this is the same. We can just say list of integers, and we can just say lists of colors, say red, say green, okay, blue, pink. So you're going to say we have a list of colors. So again, this is a data structure. We're going to say we have a list of colors. See, again, this is a list. Let's see how we're going to use this data structure in Python. It's our next lesson. Then it will help us to work with the for loop. Let's go back to my code. Now we have in the third example, we have written close the welcome, and then create another one called4.python py. Let's say Python list. This is how we start, right? This is how we create a list. To start with, you can say, let's say colors, a variable. If you do like this, red, now we have a string saying colors, right? Now or maybe you can just say red. So let's say like this, I'm going to say red color, I'm going to say red. I'm going to say green color, say green. See, these are strings. This is how you create strings. But if you want a list of data structures, you don't just create, even if you like 100 colors, you just have to create 100 variables. It doesn't make sense, and it's not the way we code, right? Let's create a list for this. I'm going to say colors. This is how you start. You start with two different curly brackets. See, it says complex. That means a class, a structure, right? This is how you start. This is a blank list. It doesn't have anything. The first step is like we create a blank list. This is how you start. Open square bracket, close a square bracket. Now let's type the list of my colors. I'm going to say red, say green. Now we have lots of colors, blue and yellow. So you can just, it doesn't matter. Orange and purple. You have a list. And brown. See, this is a list. Save it. Now, if you say, let's try a weird thing. Let's say print colors. What will happen? Save it and try to execute it. Now I'm going back to my, so let's clear. Yes, nice. Let's say Python ex4.python. See, it has printed everything. See, the return. Let's try again. Remember this command or function method, print type of colors. Let's say save and go back. Here, so Python same code. Now it says, see, now nicely says this is a type of list. It's a class, it's a list, right? This is how you create a list. Simple as that. And again, right? Now we have created this one. Look at this, everything is a string. Remember, everything is a string, but still you can just create types like this as well. I'm going to say numbers. I'm going to say 1, 2, I'm going to say like this, 3, 4, and 5, 6. See, now we have, oops, this should be 2, right? Look at this list. Now this list like one type of list. That means all are strings. But here we have different sort of list. This is a number, integer. This is an integer, and this is a string. This is a string, and this is a floating point number. See, now we have integers, we have strings, and we have floating point numbers, right? So now it doesn't mean you have to stick to one type inside the list. You can just do like this as well. But still, it will treat it as like this one. When you say print numbers and print type of numbers and save it. Let's try back in the code. Say sample. See, it will still say it's a list. So it doesn't give an error, doesn't give nothing. It will be just a list of some stuff, right? So make sure you understood that one. Next step, how do we get these things from the list, right? Let's go back to my example. Let's delete this. Now you have an understanding of this. Now let's go back to my array again. So let's not delete, and let's make it. Let's remark these things. Let's go down here. Now we are in the code, right? Now, how do we get this information? Like, remember, if you have a variable saying, okay, color red, say red, there's no problem, right? You can just straight away just say print color red. It will print. Let's write it. Now let's try my code back. See, it just prints red, no problem. But how are you going to print an array, get an item from this list and print it? This is how we're going to do that. So let's delete. You don't need this. This is how I do that. So normally what we're going to call is like, I'm going to say print colors. If you want red, you can just say an index. So you have like different things, but don't worry about this. You have index, say 0. Let's say I want like the blue color. I'm going to say. So normally what will happen if you need the blue color? 1, 2, 3, the third one. Let's print it. Look what will happen. Okay, we want the blue color, right? Let's execute. Let's clear, and let's make it a bit more. Let's say clear, and then I'm going to say Python example 4. But I got yellow. Right, but I wanted the blue color. But I got this one. But remember, when you put a list, it has an indexing. Oops, yes, it has an indexing. It starts from here, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. But it is normally it starts from an indexing of 0. And then it will say 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6. Always an array starts, a list start from 0 indexing. That's why if we want the blue, we just put get me the index 3, but it picked up yellow. That's because it will treat as it start from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then again that's correct yellow. So if you want the blue one, how do you want to do that? I'm going to say print colors. Please get the second one. That means 0, 1, 2. Now save, execute. I'm going to say now blue. Now it works. That's fine, right? So let's normally what we're going to say is like it's always a 0 based one. So this is 2. Remember, I'm going to say 0 based indexing into the list. So the second item is if you want to print the second item, it should be colors 1. Always remember that, which is the green one. See, 0 based indexing into the list. Second item is green. See what the second item is, but it should 0 and 1. You have to give here the indexing. See, it should be 1. That is second item. Next one is there are lots of things. If you want the last item, brown, how do you going to do it? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is one way of doing it. Let's say, I'm going to say print last item of the list colors. I'm going to say 6th item, right? That's the last item. Let's run it. No problem. It works. The brown, you got brown. But what if, right? If you don't know the number of items, how many items you have in your list, Maybe you're picking up from a database, maybe you're picking it up something else, right? So if you want to just get it back, the last item, so normally zero index, start with zero index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't know the end number, if you want, still you need the item, you can just say -1, right? This is called a negative indexing. Negative index means -1 means start from this area. There is nothing called, remember, there is nothing called -0, right? So always make sure you remember -1 means the first item. When you start from 0, it says like 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to pick up this one, that means -2, the purple. Then let's try this one. Let's say save. And this one should be picking up the brown. Let's execute the code. See, it still picks up the brown. But if you want this one, the purple, it should be -2. Let's say print f next to last item in the list is, I'm going to say colors -2. See, please pick up that one. Let's say save. Let's go back to my, see, it got the purple, right? Make sure you remember that one. If you're starting from 0, that means if you're going to plus point, that is from 0. If you're going from minus, that means end of the line, that means it starts from -1. There is no 0. So that you remember, right? So let's go back to the next. Now, we have done these things. Example 4. Let's go back to example 5, ex5.python. You're going to learn another functionality of a list. I'm going to copy this line, copy, and I'm going to paste it here. Right? We have the same color list. Right? This is called Python list. I'm going to call it as slicing. Taking part of these things, slice. Right? How do you want to do that? So slice, saying you need something like this. Let's say I want something from start to, well, I need the green, blue, and the yellow from the list, right? How do you want to pick that? Let's say it's a print. This is just a simple message saying, and go to the next line. Print a slice starting index of 2, index 2, and excluding index 5. How are you going to do that? Starting index 2 means 0, 1, 2 from blue, and excluding index 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excluding purple. That means you have to print blue, yellow, and orange. Let's try that. This is how you're going to do that. Say print. Let's store this one in another variable. That will be easier. This is slice, color, slice. And say colors like this from 2 to 5. Let's try this one. Print colors slice. Look what will happen. 2 to 5, right? Let's go back to my terminal. Clear Python. Example 5. Print. See, print a slice starting 2 and excluding 5. What happened? It had picked up blue and yellow and orange. Let's go back to my code. What happened here? Let's yes, that's nice. So we have 0, 1, 2 says starting index 0, 2. Start from here. Right? Blue. And then excluding index 5. Excluding index 5 means the purple. Don't pick up the purple. That means start and end 5. So pick up these things, this one and this one. So always remember, this is the index 2 and this is the 5. If you say index 2 to 5, that means it will pick up only 2, 3, 4, but it will exclude 5. It gives a margin, that means a range, say 2 to 5. Start from 2 and 5. Always remember, it won't pick up the 5th one. If you want to pick up the yellow and the orange and the purple, how do you start? So yellow is 3 and the orange is 4 and the purple is 5 and brown is 6. That means 3 to 6. Yellow, orange, purple. This is how it works, right? Make sure you remember that. Now let's say another one. We have that. Let's try another one. Say print. Go to the next line. Start with a new line. Say print a slice starting at index 0 to index 3. How do you write this code? So you can just write like this. Colors slice to colors. You can just say from 0 to index, right? Not excluding 2 index. That means it should be 0, 1, 2, 3. It should be excluding 4. Let's try that. And this one goes here. And this one should go here. So let's try that, whether it works or not. See, 3. Should be like say 2 index, right? Let's execute. Now you have, see, 0, start at 0, that's okay, the red one. And then the 5th one was like a different color. And this is one way of doing it. There's another way of doing it. You don't, if you're mentioning, if you want 0, right? That means if you're mentioning 0, you don't have to worry about it. You can just say exclude it, and then you can just say 3. Let's see what will happen, right? But you should exclude 3. Now, let's try this code. Did I save it? Let's edit. Let's go back and then execute the Python code. Now what happened? It says red, green, blue. See, not the yellow because we haven't given 3. Now it's blue. It means you don't have to worry about the 0. If you want to pick up something from the start to some certain point, and then you don't have to worry about the 0, right? If you're picking up in the middle, then you have to tell which part and what to exclude. Now it has excluded the 3. That means 0, 1, 2. That means yellow is not there. We have blue, right? So 3 is excluded. It's the same thing writing like this or this. You can just say exclude this one. Now another one is like you can just say the other way around. You can just say print again and say print a slice starting index 4 to the end of the list. So that's a different story. I want to starting from something somewhere and then print everything else, right? So this is how you do that. It's the same story. Color, I'm going to say slice 3. Colors, I'm going to start with 4 and everything else. See, it's the other way around. I'm going to say start everything else. Let's say print colors 3. Let's save it. Let's execute. See, now it goes till the brown. Brown is the last one. It starts with the index 4. That means the 5th element. That means orange is the 5th one, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the 5th one is the orange and it's everything else, right? And look what will happen like this. There are lots of combination you can just do. I can say from here to here, from left, right to left, you can do the same. We use like this. You can just say print print a slice. Yes, print a slice, please. Print a slice from the fourth, from the end, but not the last item. Did you got it? So I'm going to show you different types of using it. Let's say now pick up these colors. Slice 4. How are you going to do that? Colors. How are you going to do this? Right? It says from the fourth from end. That means fourth from end. -1, -2, -3, -4. That means from yellow. That's okay. Start from here. But don't pick the first one. This one. That means -1. Last one. See? It will start from -1, -2, -3, -4, yellow, and it will print yellow, orange, and purple. Let's try that. Print. Let's try that. Print. So you can do wonders of this using this list. Color slice 4. Let's save it. Let's execute. Go back to my list. Clear. Go to top, and then run the code and see. There's yellow, orange, and purple. See? Slice from the fourth, from the end, but not the last item. So that's why it didn't pick up the last item. Now we have learned a lot on this list, right? Let's move on to the. Now these data structures has different methods. I'm going to show you some items. Let's go back to this new one, EX6 and Python, right? Let's go back to saying, let's pick up the same copy. Let's say copy and paste. List methods. We call list methods, right? So if you just say colors and dot, see lots of things. Lots of items for this list. So many methods. I'm going to explore a few things, and then you can just do it your own. So let's start with if I want to reverse this list, see this function, this method, say reverse, says reverse in place. How are you going to do that? Let's say reverse in place means it will reverse the items. Now I'm going to show you. Let's see, print colors. So I'm gonna, let's say sorry, formatting. This is before reversing, right? Reversing, and I'm gonna say colors. Let's try that and print this code, and let's try it. Clear, and should be Python 6. Enter. This is before reversing, red, green, blue, like that's very clear. Now, look what will happen. Make sure you read it correctly, right? So, if I say colors, but reverse, so reverse, it says, especially highlights, it says in place. See? Let's understand what will happen. And then, there's another one you should see, two different things. When you read documentation, and this one. This method doesn't return anything. Remember the definition, the functions we wrote, we had return function, but that means it doesn't return anything, right? So let's say it should be just reverse. That means reverse, and that's it. It's a method. And let's print this is after reversing. I'm going to say colors, same colors. Same. Look what happened. Let's clear and see. Now what happened? It's the same thing. It says this is before reversing, red, same thing. But and when you after reversing, the brown, purple, orange, yellow, and then blue, red. So what happened was the array, the actual list got changed. From now on, after you call in the reverse, always you won't get the original one. That means it has mutated. Normally we call this a mutable list. That means it has changed. So it's changed, not just change, it did the apply the change into the actual array the list we just used, right? You have to make sure it doesn't output to a new list, but it will be always the same list reversed. The same thing for sorting. If you just sort it, like let's create another one, say numbers, let's say 1, 10, 2, 200, 300, 13, 55, 56, like that, numbers, right? Now what will happen? You have numbers 1 to 10, but if you just say for the numbers, saying print, you say numbers dot reverse, look what will happen. And then when you print numbers, just numbers, save it. Now we have 110 to 300, right? Now if you change this one, see, it says 56, 55, it just reversed it. If we just say sort, there's another one called sort. Get the sort command, sort. See, now sort has something, 2 different methods. See, it says sort, whatever the key, you can just give a key, and then reverse Boolean. Boolean means you have to just sort. Reverse means it should be, do you want to sort it on the ascending order or the descending order? See, and it doesn't return anything. Again, it will change this sort is in place. In place means that means the list itself is modified and stable, order of 2 elements, right? Let's save it. Look what will happen. Let's go back to my code. Now it has changed into, see, 110 to 300. Oh, did it sort? Sorry, I think it didn't sort, right? No, sorry, it should be a method. Let's save it. Let's go back. See, it didn't return anything, but it didn't work. Now see, nicely 1, 2, 10, 13, 50, 56, and 100. So you can just go back to your code. If you want, just like try a comma inside it. Let's say the order of this none, it says maybe reverse. You can just say reverse equals true. Right, look what will happen. Let's save it and then go back to this code. Clear? Clear. Okay, almost missed that. Clear. See, now it says 356. So it's the same, right? Now let's check what will happen if you reverse this one. Maybe sort this one. Some names. So we're going to say colors dot sort. What will happen? Let's print. Now let's print the now colors as well. Save it and run. Now blue brown, see, it says B, and then G is alphabetically ordered. See, you can just test this thing. See, it's alphabetically ordered. This is how the sort works for this one, right? Now, so now this is, we have learned something here. Few functions. Now we're going to know some more other important functions on this sort. We just learned sort, we just learned reverse. Right, we learned those things. Let's go back. Let's copy this again. Copy. Let's copy it. Close. We start a new file. So example 7. So EX7. Let's paste it. I'm going to say, let's say, treat the list like a queue. What this means? Queue. So what is a queue? So for example, it says red, green, blue, whatever it is, right? It's a queue, right? Imagine this is a queue and then this is the gate. If I ask to get the first one in, you will get the red, right? Get the fourth one in, you can say yellow. right? So this is a queue, is always, it's like first in, first out. This is how it works. Like this, we can check, we can create a method called, this is a function called pop. Let's say colors dot pop. See, remove and return item at index, default last. So whatever it is, remove, raise an index, the list is empty. If there is nothing there, nothing to pop, means it just remove and return item and index. That means it returns and removes. So there is a word called return. See, remove and return the item at index. See what happened. Let's say, I'm going to say, if you want to pick up a color, I'm going to say a color. See, it returns something. Colors dot pop at 0. I'm going to give an index, get pop at 0, and print popped the color. What will happen? And finally, I'm going to print the colors as well, the entire list as well. So this is, save it, it popped something, and then color. You're going to print the one which is removed, and then colors. Let's see how it works. Let's go back and clear example 7. See, it's pop red. Now the red is missing from the list. See, so pop means always it will pick up, it will get like a queue, and the gate, I'm going to say let the first one in. Okay, let the first one in. That means somebody is in, the red is in, but everybody else is out. See, above, it's in outside the gate. It's like this. For example, you have let's get this example. Go back. You go back here, and then get this example. You have a gate here. Say you have a gate, my gate. Let's change the color. Format text from the text. I want the color. Right. Style. This is a gate, and we have a gate here. I'm going to say, please get the second one. That means 0, 1. Get the green, pop. So green is out. You get it? Now we have red, blue, and pink. It's the same thing. The pop is doing that. It will remove it and then return whatever the removed one, and then the array will be changed into the removed one. Then now we have a 3. So it's the same thing here. It happened. That means if I just say, okay, blue, 0, 1, 2. Second, save. Let's execute, clear. I'm going to say, see, pop blue. Now you are missing blue here. So same thing. This is how pop works, right? It's like a first in, first out thing. Again, we can just say same thing to this one. Let's go back to my chart. Yes. Now imagine you have green here, you popped it out. Maybe I have another color called black. I'm going to say append the black. Go inside. So what will happen was, append the black means you just go inside. It won't just fit it here. Normally the array will be like this. The list will be like this. Always appending will be at the last. Oops. Will be like this. Append. Right? Let's try the append. Let's see how it works. Let's see. Go back. Now we have done pop. I'm gonna highlight these things. Let's say now I'm gonna say colors dot append. So let's add something like black and colors dot append. Add white. Now let's print colors. Look what will happen. Save. I have added 2 things. Clear. Yeah, example 7. What happened? See, you have red, green, blue, yellow, and if you see the white and the black is added to the end. So that means this is normally what we call, this is first in, first out. That means the array is there. If you append something, it will add it to the end of the line, right? It's kind of like a queue. That's why I told you it's queue, right? Now let's go back. We have colors. See, you understood. If I say, okay, add these things, and then I'm going to say colors, remove. What to remove? You can just say a value string. Here it's a string, right? If you have another, it's a string because this is a string array. I'm going to say remove yellow and colors, not remove orange. So what will happen? And then we have appended two things. We saw it has added to the end. Now we're going to remove yellow and orange. Look what will happen. Let's go back to my code. Execute here. Now look what happened. See, now we have red, green, blue, purple and brown are moved into the front because we have removed yellow and orange. Now black and white is at the end. So this is first come. So this is called first come, first in. First in, first out. That means if you remove, it will just go like this. If you look at this part. So if you remove one of these things, like these two, and then it will move to here, and then whatever the end of the line will just come back. Right? If you added these two again, it will add it to the end. That you have to remember, right? So always do that. This is how it works on this one, right? So if you example, let me try this. If you try something doesn't have, if you just say colors, not remove, I'm going to say light green. So light green is not there, right? Let's save it. Look what will happen. See, it says there's an error, line 12. Colors remove light green, value error, list remove X. X is not in the list. That means it doesn't have. So always remember, if you don't have anything, it won't it will give you an error runtime. These are called runtime errors. Make sure you just check these things. Whether normally when we say we can just check for, you can just use an if, whether if it's contained inside the list, and if it's there, and then remove it. So make sure those things, like let's say, how are you gonna combine these things? Same thing, right? Now we have this yellow, black. Let's start another example. Example 8.python. Get back my same code. Same thing. Now let's combine this. Right? This is I'm going to say new colors. I'm going to add some new colors, saying let's say lime and gray. Right? Two different colors. So how you combine these two? We have colors and new colors, right? So if you just say this is a simple thing, you can just say if you want to combine two colors, there's two different things. Like you have, if you want to add new colors into colors, this is how you do that. Colors dot extend. See, extend. Now it will ask for a parameter, says iterable. Iterable means another list. Extend with new colors. See, now you print colors. What will happen? Let's say Python example. Sorry, that's not the one. Python example 8. Now you have the lime and the gray as well as added. Now you can just combine array list like this. If you say like the other way around, it's totally different, right? You can say new colors dot extend with the colors. That's totally different story. Then the colors won't change, right? Look at these colors, lime gray, and you have these things. You just go back and execute. This is the same thing, red, green, but you have to try. If you try the new colors, new colors, just save it, go back. Now you have lime gray. See, at the end you have added. Make sure how do you add these things, right? Now if you want to clear, now let's say if you want to just say print new colors, that's okay. Let's change the code back. Colors dot extend new colors. Yes, please, new colors, and then print the colors. Right? You can just call another command called that. Just say colors dot. Now you just say new colors dot clear. Look what will happen. It doesn't return anything, but you can just say print new colors. Then you have colors. Let's go back to my code saying clear, clear, yes, and execute the code. See, now you have red, green, lime gray added to this list, but the new color is cleared. Now it's nothing there. It's a blank stuff, right? This is how you do that using the list. Now you have done, there are plenty of other things. You can just go back to the help and just say how to work with this list. Go to the Python documentation. You will learn about something. I just want to show you a few things about list, right? So next stuff is, let's say, let's iterate. Let's go back, right? Few things to check. Now let's go back. Example 9. We have time for another, like just one example. Example 9. This, let's say I have, right? So this kind of things like list, again lists, check for items, right? Like this. Imagine I have a list called numbers. I have 1, 3, 5, few numbers, and I'm going to say like print, say 5 in numbers. And I'm going to say another one, print 8 in numbers. So look what will happen. Let's save it. Two different things. I have 5 in numbers and then 8 in numbers. Let's go back to my code. I'm going to say Python clear. Oops, sorry. Clear. And say Python example 9 dot Python. So it says true and false. What happened? It returned true to the first one and it returned the second one. So we got a true here and a false here. That means this entire thing is a Boolean expression. You have to remember that. That means it's going to check whether it's whether the 5 is in these numbers. Yes, true. 8 is in these numbers. No. So that means we can easily use this one, this in numbers, inside a if statement. Right? That means it returns a true or false. If you just say if statement, if 5 in numbers, see, you can just say print yes, 5 is in the list of numbers. Just save it, and then you can combine these things. See, yes, 5 is in the list of numbers. That means you understood now. So that means this entire statement, this entire thing is a Boolean expression. Like you checking like this, print whether 6 is greater than 2. Same thing, a Boolean expression. Right? Same here, you can just using if. Now you can use this code. Remember this code. You try to remove something here. Sorry, example 7. You remove something here which is not there. Right? You can check now. If you want to remove 8, if you want to remove 5, you can just check. And then you can just say numbers dot remove. Now it is integers 5. See? What will happen if you try to remove 8? It will never happen. See, if you have to check whether if there is an 8, now remove 8. So you can just say else print saying 8 is not in the list. What will happen? If 8 is there, remove it, else you don't have 8 here. You can say another one, print we have found 8 and removed it. It is there, right? Save. Let's run the example and clear. Let's try example 9. Says 8 is not in the list. Good, you don't have it. Now let's add 8 in the list. Sorry, not 85, it should be 8 in the list. Save it. Now go back to the and let's try. We have found 8 and removed it. See, this is how you combine things, right? Okay, now let's go back to here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It's time for, okay, stop it. Stop share. Right, I think it's time for Q&A. We can just ask some questions. So today the idea was like to treat you some, just do about what you're going to use with loops, and we learned about a while loop, and then we learned about list. Next week we're going to talk about how to use for loop. So because that was the plan, we just understanding about list, then we can slowly move into the advanced stuff in the last day, and then on the final day we're going to create something from everything we learned. If you have any questions, you can just shoot right now. I think you are muted. Marsha, you are muted. No. And still I can't hear you. No.
I think we have.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't hear you. Hear Marsha.
Yeah, until Marsha joins, so I will forward to the questions. We have one questions. One is if I use Visual Studio Code, I want to install Python separately. That's the question actually.
Yes, you have to. Even though you are installing anything else, you need Python to be installed. You can go to python.org and download the executables, and you can just install it, and then you can use Visual Studio. Visual Studio Studio Code is an IDE to help you write Python code.
Okay. We have another question. Is Python will help us in data science?
Yes, definitely, because mostly data science people use Python as a language. So you learn these things because if you look at Python, there are lots of functionality to work with data. So mainly data science they use on Python. It's no problem. You learn Python, and then make sure if you're looking for data science, make sure you just learn something else called this data modeling. So how to capture data, how to store data, and all those things, because without those data you can't just do anything else. Then use Python to get data and for your data science. Yeah,
we have another question. How can we input our program into a website? What are the steps we need to follow?
Okay, this so far the things I have taught you, you can't create a website because those are all console application, which is we ran inside a inside a console or shell, right? So you can't execute this in a website. To work with website, there are external third-party libraries, like it's called Django. Normally when you just look at Python, the Django is a web framework built up of Python for web applications. You have to use Django, and then you can just create web applications and deploy into a website.
We have one last question. To append data to a list or data frame and save it permanently when executing different times. That means again and again try to add data to a data structure.
I didn't get the question. I didn't understand.
It says that how to append data to a list or data frame and save it permanently when executing different times. If you need to get a clear idea, I will put it in the chat. So
how to append data to a list or data frame and save it permanently when executing different. So permanently saving means you have to save it into a different area, like a global area, or maybe a data store. Maybe you have to write into a text file, and then you can just pick these things up. So we'll look at these things in the later days. So append data, this means you close it, and then you actually is asking about how to store this data place. I think that was the question. So you can use a text file, or maybe you can use a database to store this information. So you don't need append into a list. So you can just straight away write into these things using a different functionality. I hope you get the answer for that.
I guess so. If we haven't answered your question, you can still put the question in the chat.
Yeah.
We have again one last question. Can I do every Python works in Jupyter Notebook?
No, Jupyter Notebook is like for creating. Normally, Jupyter Notebook is like for, imagine you have a notebook, so you have to come back and just look. Normally, what we do is in Jupyter Notebook is like we just create. When we teaching, it's easy to teach and maybe take notes on that one, saying explaining, and then save the notebook and give it to them. So you can't do everything in Jupyter Notebooks, but you can just try functionality within Jupyter Notebooks. And then, but to work with these things, you have to write a Python file, and then you have to execute it using a console application or maybe a web framework.
I think that's all the questions
Okay.
we have. Malsha, are you with us?
I think she has some technical issues.
Yeah, Malsha. In that case, I think because of the technical issues, Mr. Smiles, thank you for today's session. It was very valuable, and I need to thank all the participants as well. Please make sure to fill out the attendance form because that helps for your final certificate as well. And until we see you again next week, thank you everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye bye.